Good evening, didn't work then. Good evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome to the biggest Man United fan channel in the land. This is the United Stand, and yes, they have let Kev roam again on a Thursday night at 8 o'clock, so it's great that you are joining me. Hopefully, there are loads of people in the chat. We'll get things going this evening. We have got so much to get into. I know a lot of the United Stand lot have had their say on the issues and the week that it has been. We've had, obviously, INEOS. We're going to be talking about the managerial candidates that possibly could be arising. There's talk of De Zerbi. There's talk of Graham Potter. There's talk of Gareth Southgate, for God's sake. Can it get any worse? But there's other stories that we will be touching on. Jadon Sancho, apparently Borussia Dortmund now are claiming that they don't want to sign him on a permanent kind of transfer. So we'll get into that. We'll try and gauge your thoughts as well in the chat. Also a story this evening surfacing that Barcelona heavily interested in taking Mason Greenwood. So I would just like to say thank you very much for joining me. I know some of you will be like, no Mark, no party, but Kev can party. Kev can party. Let me just make sure that the chat is working. It's great. Everybody's in there. They're saying, hey, Kev, and stuff like that. So even if you want to get, you know, a bit of Kev Meg going, it's not even a thing that. I've just invented it. I realise it's very sad and down with that behaviour. But let's get into the show. Straight away, there is a super chat that's come in. Somebody said, hi, Mark. Hi, Mark. Please, can you wish my son Samuel Pemferbridge a very happy 10th birthday for tomorrow? Well, you stuck with the ugly one this evening, I am Kev, but I will say happy birthday to Samuel for tomorrow. Maybe that's something that Mark can sort tomorrow when he's on his show. But thanks very much, everybody that is in the live comments. We'll also be ending the show today. There's 21 possible players that could leave Manchester United this summer. Just let that sink in. 21 players. And when we run through them, I'll obviously get you lot all your interaction, engagement, but a lot of them will not be missed at Manchester United, which probably tells you a lot about what the mismanagement at Manchester United, which has gone on. And if we've got time at the end of the show, we're going to look at United's Player of the Year so far. So let's get the show kicked off. Loads of stories this week. I mean, depending where you actually sit on this one, as a Manchester United fan, it can only be doom. It can only be doom if Sir Jim Ratcliffe is actually considering the kind of candidates that are being spoken about in the press. We've got Roberto De Zerbi from Brighton, Gareth Southgate, current England manager, and Graham Potter. Now, I will have my say on this. Straight away, I look at somebody like Graham Potter. I'd rather have Harry Potter. You know, at least he could bring his wand with him, which is something that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer alluded to this week. He said that, you know, that there's no quick fix. You can't get a wand out. So Harry Potter probably could do that. Brian Potter from Phoenix Knights, you know, don't go down that route, Graham Potter. I know he has links to INEOS, but I look at it and I think it'd be so much worse than Erik Ten Hag and the work that he has done at Manchester United. There's obviously the other names, De Zerbi. The last time I just looked this evening, Brighton are getting absolutely walloped by Roma 4-0. And, you know, you can look at it, they are going through a rough patch at the moment. But the one thing with Brighton, and I love this, people that think these managers that are at Brighton, that they have a structure and a setup. You know, that is a main thing that they have at Brighton. And that even shows in the players that leave Brighton, because the likes of Caicedo, Cucurella, you know, they've jumped ship from a good, well-run club and basically gone to a circus at Chelsea. And they are not ripping up trees at Chelsea. That's because Chelsea, similar to us, don't have a great structure. They've gone pure scattergun, gone out, spent huge money on players, daft contracts. You know, there's not much different, really, from what Chelsea have done to what our own club, Manchester United, are doing. And you take them managers out, Brighton still play the same brand of football because they have built that. So Graham Potter went to Chelsea. What did he do at Chelsea? He got the sack. But they thought he will bring the Brighton way. That Brighton way of playing. They're playing out from the back, keeping the ball, really exciting, good football to watch. But it never happened. It never happened at Chelsea. So it is a strange one. De Zerbi, for me, I am not having it. But what we'll do is, the three names, I'm obviously covering De Zerbi, but I'd be interested to see, right? We'll throw a poll out. And I know the last time I was on here, everybody was like, Kev loves a poll. I do like a poll because I like to know what you lot are saying. But we will throw De Zerbi, Potter and Southgate. So let's just say Big Jim tomorrow makes the big call and says, right, Ten Hag, get your stuff, you're off. And you have to choose one of those three. And we'll get a poll. Hopefully, producer Greg can get that sorted. De Zerbi, Potter or Southgate. I've just said on Graham Potter that I'd rather have Harry Potter or Brian Potter from Phoenix Knights. I do not see that. The last one, obviously, is Gareth Southgate. Gareth Southgate, you know, who cannot even get it right for England. But all of a sudden, the press, the media, are putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 478 as the answer. I mean, this is well off. They believe that Dan Ashworth, because he is coming into Manchester United, or supposedly after his gardening leave has finished, you know, I always envision Dan Ashworth at this moment in time, out in his back garden, mowing the lawn with one hand, can of red stripe in the other, just waiting for his phone to ring, you know, that this compensation package has been sorted with Manchester United. But at that moment, the press, what they are trying to come up with here is the fact that Gareth Southgate worked with Dan Ashworth at the FA. Would anybody want Gareth Southgate anywhere near Manchester United? You know, some Manchester United fans hounded Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, a club legend, out of this club. Now, I backed Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but when it got to the point where it was no longer tenable and I knew that he'd run his course, you know, I could accept that. But I would have never spoken bad about him. You know, it was never a personal thing. You don't do that to one of your own. But to consider Gareth Southgate, Manchester United considering Gareth Southgate, these are the stories again. This is where I just think the press are well off on this one. Gareth Southgate, I mean, he can't even get the best out of the players that he's got at England at the minute. You know, he scratches his head thinking about where he's going to play Phil Foden. You know, and you see what he did in the derby against us last week. You know, Foden should be one of the first names on that team sheet. But Gareth Southgate is a nearly man. And really, is he any different to what we had in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Manchester United? You know, some people will look at Gareth Southgate probably as being an England kind of legend, if you want to call it that. Yes, he played for England. He goes into the England setup. Yes, he brought the good vibes, the camaraderie. I'm sure a lot of England fans will agree that, you know, things have been good. But ultimately, it comes down to winning trophies. And that's where Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Manchester United, you know, fell at them hurdles. He could not deliver. So in that sense, he was a nearly man. And that's exactly what I see Gareth Southgate as. Gareth Southgate now is at the point with England, I believe, where Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was, where he can't take the team any further forward. So why the hell, you know, we might as well get Ole Gunnar Solskjaer back for what that is worth, going for Gareth Southgate. But let me just see my poll. Like I said before, everybody says Kev loves a poll. I do love a poll. Let me just see. Despicable says in the chat, Ten Hag... Ooh, was it gone? Let me just see. Ten Hag could end up at Chelsea if we sack him. And I think he would do a great job there because they have the players except the striker. And this is a thing with Erik Ten Hag. I've spoken to a lot of people on this one. I speak a lot to my friends, and I understand that there's supporters in the fan base. They're certainly divided over what they want from Erik Ten Hag. But I do stick by what I said about Ten Hag. I do think he massively overachieved in his first season. You flip these seasons round, if we're experiencing the season that we experienced last season now, and we'd have finished wherever we're going to finish this season, last season, yes, you would have looked at it as progression. I do think United overachieved. I do think that we can use injuries to an extent. I think we've had horrendous injuries this year, which has shown that the lack of squad depth at Manchester United. But let's... there's a few shouts for Nagelsmann in the chat. Let me just see. Right, we'll get the poll ended now. Who would you take as last resort? I've just mentioned then that you've got Potter, De Zerbi or Gareth Southgate. This is if INEOS had the call, which one would you choose? It's a shocker to do, really, isn't it? But 78% of the United stand community, it's a landslide. It is an absolute landslide. Going with De Zerbi from Brighton. I totally get that. Graham Potter gets in with 12%. And Gareth Southgate gets 9%. Now, I'm really surprised at the 9% that have gone there. That was 1.1k votes on that. Thanks to everybody who got involved. I think we know that there is a clear winner in De Zerbi, but I would just say to you, and I know I've thrown them three names into the pot, De Zerbi seems to be the kind of street name, you know, the football that he is playing at Brighton, but that does come with the facts that Manchester United, we don't have that style of play at this moment in time. Owen Thompson, thank you very much, Sunshine. Super chat. There's a super chat gone in. Super chat. Says, Kev, what if Erik Ten Hag has an odd meeting with Ashworth and INEOS, like it, and stick with him? He deserves a chance under a good structure. Now, I've not done many of these 8 o'clock shows on my own, but I would go as far as to say, Owen Thomas, that is by far the best super chat that I have personally read in this studio. So I hold you in high esteem, sir. That is an absolute corker, a man after my own heart. This is echoing my own sentiments. I would love it if INEOS do have a chat with Erik Ten Hag. I hope that Ashworth, once he's finished mowing the lawn, Barada again, another man that's mowing the lawn, you know, once these have done their gardening leave and they are able to come to Manchester United and start making huge changes. We've seen the way that Erik Ten Hag worked at Ajax, for instance, under one of the best sporting directors, I would say, in our ex-goalkeeper, Edwin van der Sar. You know, Edwin van der Sar, ironically, had Manchester United's pants down massively by selling us Anthony at a hugely inflated price. So you look at the work that, you know, Edwin van der Sar did there for Ajax, but obviously when you look at a club like Ajax, the structure was always there. And I do hear a lot of people saying, yeah, well, at Ajax, it's easy. It's not as easy as what people think. You know, it's not La Liga. It's not going to manage a PSG. It is a bit different at Ajax. But the one thing they do have is a structure that runs deep down from grassroots level. You know, they're all taught the same football. And I always do say it takes time to implement your style of play at a club. And a lot of people, some people are fed up with the brand of football. Some people could argue, what the hell is the brand of football? And I hear you, I really do. But I look, and I do think he needs time. I do think under a proper structure at Manchester United, Erik Ten Hag can flourish. I think he needs help. You know, you hear the comments that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has come out with, saying that he was never backed at Manchester United the same way, obviously, that Sir Alex Ferguson was. But that is because Sir Alex Ferguson worked in tandem with David Gill. And that was a massive part of Manchester United's fall-off, was when David Gill was allowed to leave, kind of jump ship at exactly the same time as Sir Alex Ferguson. There should have really been a year or two bedding in where at least Manchester United, David Gill could have helped out, maybe steadied the ship, but he made that decision. But Owen Thompson with, so far, the best super chat of the evening. And apologies, obviously I can't read every single message that fires into the normal chat because it's so quick and Kev's brain does not work that quickly. But obviously the super chat will ensure that I read it out. If you want to call me a knobhead or whatever, I've got to read it out, man, so I will do that. There is one here, the United Stand gifted 5 United Stand memberships. So there you go. It's all kicking off in the chat here. It is Thursday evening, and thank you very much for joining me. So the managerial links at Manchester United, you obviously you will have read about it yourself. I think Mark's had his say, Beth's had her say, and I think a lot of us are fearful because we are kind of looking at it and we're thinking, how can we trust INEOS at this moment in time? The one thing that INEOS have done, I will say that they have said all the right things. Now, it's all right saying these things. Now, saying things and actioning things are 2 completely different things altogether. You know, they've come in, they've said the right things in the sense of the stadium straight away. They've come in, you know, we'll knock Old Trafford down. We'll just build a new one behind it, big new fancy one, you know, the Wembley of the North. Oh, right, nice one. Yeah, that sounds great. You know, we're looking at training grounds. We're going to buy a golf course. You know, we're going to dig it up, brand new training ground. And this is what supporters have wanted. You know, this is where United have fallen massively behind. You know, the likes of Leicester in the Championship have got better training facilities than us. Obviously, you look at what Tottenham have done, Arsenal over the years and stuff. So sorry, we have fallen behind in that sense. But INEOS have come in, and of course they're going to say all the right things. But again, it's a bit like Marcus Rashford before the derby. You know, comes out with a huge statement. I love this club, saying all the right things. He wants to be here. And ultimately, the only way you can silence people is by actioning things on the field, actually putting into play what you say. So all these words from INEOS will mean absolutely nothing. You know, the likes of Ashworth, Barada coming in is absolutely huge because the club does need restructuring. The worry at the moment as a Manchester United fan is, you know, the management side of things. And I've got to say, hand on heart here, I fear 100% for Eric Ten Hag at this moment in time. I fear because the club have not really come out and backed him. I've not heard Jim Ratcliffe mention Eric Ten Hag in any sentence. And as they do say that there is no smoke without fire. So these stories sometimes are complete and utter horseshit. You know, pardon me language, but sometimes there is there's no smoke without fire. And the fact that them 3 names are being mentioned, you know, they will come with the links of INEOS. And I think personally, if let's just say, for instance, Gareth Southgate is the man to replace Eric Ten Hag. INEOS make this call. Sir Jim says, this manager was already here when we come here. We don't want him anymore. We're going to bring in our own guy. Gareth Southgate, I mean, come on. I mean, I'd be as close to actually just downing tools myself. Never mind the players at Old Trafford. I'll be downing me flag, me scarf, whatever. Season ticket, membership, whatever. That would be a step in the wrong direction. I'd look at that and think, not for me. I wouldn't be surprised. The kind of things... The Glazers are still, you know, there at Manchester United. You know, I was going to say, imagine, you know, the Glazers made this call, but they will probably have, well, they will have a say in it, 75% or whatever. But, yeah, you know, this was just a Glazer decision without INEOS, and they sacked Eric Ten Hag and brought in Gareth Southgate. I think there'd be... I don't think it'd be too far-fetched to say there'd probably be riots outside Old Trafford. You know, what kind of a statement is that setting out? I actually think that rival fans, you know, they would use that. We get beat with a stick anyway, but I think rival fans would find that absolutely hilarious if Man United were to make an appointment like that. You know, what other club in the Premier League would appoint a Gareth Southgate? You know, certainly not a team near the top, a so-called big club. would not be going after Gareth Southgate. I'll just go into the chat very quickly. Gary Lacey said, "Evening, Kev. You're a legend. You love a pole even more than Peter Stringfellow." All right, and I tell you one thing, on Kev's watch, I'm in the hot seat this evening, nobody else about. We'll cut the porno Kev jibes out straight away. You love a pole even more than Peter Stringfellow, that's going to be. I've told you before, the thing that Mark Goldbridge said, the porno Kev thing, I have to remain very tight-lipped on, mainly because my lawyer has instructed me to say no comment. So what is this? What is this? There is a chat in here. Let me just see. The MC17 Raptor, is that Man City 17 Raptor, said Kev secretly supports City. I can tell you now, Sunshine, that is not true, and I am highly offended by that. I'm sat in a United top. How do I secretly support City? I do actually live close to a lot of City fans. I just live quite close to Stockport, which is predominantly blue. But Mr. Cheetah said Southgate can only go south in club football. Yeah, I think I can totally agree with that. But listen, it's great. Thank you very much for the super chats that are rattling in. I will get back to them shortly. We will stick to the brief of this evening, though. We've got to stick to that. We've got to keep some kind of structure to the show. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I did mention before. Obviously, if you've read all the comments, but it did get me to thinking. We talk about managers being backed at Manchester United, or the lack of it. And obviously the super chat there before mentioned it, that some people think that Erik Ten Hag is not getting the backing that he needs. He's left to his own devices. Yeah, but Kevy spent 400 million and all that. But as I always say, you know, if there was somebody to pull back on him when we went in for Anthony at that price, all it takes, sporting director, somebody over him to say, do you really need to invest all that money in this kid? You know, is there other areas of the squad that we could be looking at and investing that money in? You could get 2 players in midfield and that. That's where Erik Ten Hag has been left to his own devices. And don't get me wrong, I'll be the first to admit Anthony has not been a great, well, he's been absolutely shite if I'm being totally honest, but I don't like to knock footballers, but he has come with a hefty price tag and he's certainly not lived up to it at Manchester United. But the comments, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think it wasn't a surprise to, it's not a surprise to see Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at this moment in time doing the old media bandwagon. You know, Wayne Rooney's on it at the moment. It's basically the manager that is out of work, you know, trying to put themselves in the shop window, might do a stint on Monday Night Football, you know, point at the old board behind, you know, this player should have been here, he should have been there and all that. And we seen it with Pochettino, didn't we? You know, when Ollie was under pressure and Pochettino rocked up on Monday Night Football and he was putting himself in the position. He was letting Manchester United know that he was available, but Man United, thankfully, never went down that route of choosing Pochettino. But I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's comments, he has alluded to the fact he wasn't backed at Manchester United. And again, people will say, well, Kev, he spent loads of money. And I do get that, but I do believe that the majority of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's targets weren't his first target. So in this sense, you know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he signed what? Igalo. You know, Igalo. You know, and you even look at this now, the way it's filtered through into the current regime. You know, Weghorst. Who's signing Weghorst? You know, a man said, it's Pep Guardiola in January, if he's short of a striker, thinking, let's bring in the big fella from Burnley. You know, he'll rough them up. You know, big clubs don't look, you know, they don't dip into the loan market. And I know the injury thing is another issue altogether at Manchester United, because I don't know what that medical department are up to. Our injuries are absolutely horrific, you know, second to absolutely none in the Premier League. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's comments, I think, on Haaland, you can read this two ways. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is saying that he wasn't backed at Manchester United, which obviously looks good on him. But I do believe he wasn't fully backed. But to come out and say, I think we all knew that he wanted Erling Haaland, and there was a possibility that he could have signed him. And the fee that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer mentioned was that Manchester United could have got him for a bargain price of around 20 million euros. So whatever that is in pounds. But obviously, when you look at Erling Haaland and how he's progressed as a player, it would have been an absolute steal. But at the same time, I do look at that and I think that, don't get me wrong, I love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is probably trying to big himself up there, saying that he went to the club and the club said apparently that they'd looked at him, but nah, we're not going for him. I think you need to look into that. I mean, would Erling Haaland really have come to Manchester United? And I'm saying this as a Manchester United fan. You know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is saying this. He's coming out and he's saying we could have got Erling Haaland. That's sort of crap impression. Forget it. He could have said, you know, we can get Erling Haaland for 20 million euro. Would Erling Haaland have come to Manchester United at that stage? His dad played for Manchester City. Roy Keane ended his career with a challenge at Old Trafford and stood over him, you know, and barked in his face while he was on the floor in agony. Yet his son is going to rock up at Manchester United and pull on the famous red jersey and then line up against Manchester City at some stage. So to that extent, I don't think there was a possibility ever that Man United could have got that one over the line. Even in his younger days, Salzburg or whatever he was, and yes, Solskjaer did manage him when he was younger, but I just don't see it, man. I do not see it. We've got a few more super chats to get through. It's great that everybody is getting involved. Like I said, I will stick to my word and I will read them out regardless of what you say. Well, I'll take that with a pinch of salt. You know, if it's really bad, it ain't getting read out. Catherine, that's my wife's name as well, says, love you, Kev. Might be her, you never know, showing me a bit of support. The Ashford support. Love you, Kev. So great to see you doing your own shows. Do you follow United women at all? Do you know what? That is something I should get into, because the tickets to Manchester United so hard to get a hold of at the minute, and I'm actually thinking of starting to take my sons, actually. I think I need to get into that atmosphere, and it's that family environment of going to a game. Obviously, a Premier League game is totally different. I keep wanting to take like my youngest son, and I think you have to try and pick and choose a game. But it doesn't matter what game you go to. You're always going to have kind of issues in the, you know, he's only 6 years old, for God's sake. He'll go there and he'll be like, what the hell have you brought me to here? He's not geared up for it yet. He's not ready. Mojo has gifted 10 United Stand memberships. So I'm not 100% sure what that means, but if somebody gifts you something, it usually means it's really good, because, you know, when I get gifts at Christmas, they're absolutely bob on, and Kev is definitely in his happy place then. Mike Thomas in the super chat says, to be fair, Kev, if you did support City, you'd be doubling the amount of fans they have. Oh, it's a low blow. I love that one. I absolutely love that one. Do you know what? I'm going totally off topic here, but I'll just tell you a quick story. My cousin is over from from America, and we went for something to eat the other day. She's got her 2 sons that she's brought over from America. They're from Boston, New York, whatever. And my uncle Steve was there as well, massive City fan. So they support City fans. They're City fans, the 2 kids. Of course they are, you know, from America, big blues and all that. So they just managed to mention the other day, yeah, we managed to get tickets for the Copenhagen game. So I was like, wow. I was like, how did you get them? And they were like, we just rang up and got them. So I'm looking, my Uncle Steve's looking, you know, give me that. So I was like, all right. I said, 3 tickets together? Yeah. I was like, all right. I was like, no shortage, but open sale tickets for a knockout Champions League game, eh, Steve? And he was like, well, actually, some tickets get sent back. I was like, yeah, pull the other one. Massive club, my arse. Dallas Knight says, Mark, are you really 5'8"? Is anybody with the programme here this evening? Do I look like Mark Goldbridge? I really don't think I do. Dallas Knight has not got the memo. Either you're not watching the screen. Even if you're not watching the screen, how do not even sound like Mark. But I'm glad we put the rumours to bed. Kev is certainly not a City fan. I absolutely can't stand them. As my friend told me in the pub last week, they're a bunch of lotto louts. That's what he told me. So I said, elaborate on that. He said, remember that Michael Carroll who won the lottery? If you don't know, look him up. He was out on parole, won the lottery, bought a massive house, you know, drove dirt cars around in his back garden. So he calls Man City the lotto louts. I'm with that one, actually. We will now get back. We're totally off schedule there. Hopefully you liked Kev's stories. It's time we got back on track. But I think we've covered Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's comments. I don't know whether you fully agree with me that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wasn't backed, but I think you can certainly see a running trend, a running theme at Manchester United, which has happened since the sacking of David Moyes. David Moyes wasn't backed. Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, we've had Solskjaer, Rangnick, and to this present day, Ten Hag. So I think there's one thing as Manchester United fans, as long as INEOS can get this right, as long as they can back up all these fancy words, all the talk of new fancy stadiums, training grounds, if they can back that up, Ten Hag might have a chance. But as I did say earlier, I've got a horrible feeling that Ten Hag is on borrowed time, and come the summer, he won't be at Manchester United, regardless, even if Manchester United made top 4 and won the FA Cup, which would be probably the best ending to this season possible for Man United. I still think he will be sacked, and that is not something I agree with. That is my gut feeling. My gut feeling in here. Tom Best, thank you, sir, says problems will only get worse while the Glazers are still there. So all these problems won't go until they go. Tom, absolutely great super chat that. We are stuck with them. I suppose looking more long term, Man United fans will be hoping that Sir Jim, this is part of a full buyout strategy at Manchester United, where he's looking to certainly take up the majority share and one day get rid of the Glazers. You know, it could take a couple of years, could take 5 years, could take 10 years. But as it is, we've had 18, 19 years under this Glazer regime. We've literally had like a ball chained to our ankle. And for me, that has been the Glazers. They are still there in the background. INEOS at the minute are a bit of a front for that. They've certainly taken the heat off the Glazers. No planned protest, you know, people are kind of sitting back. Maybe, fair enough, they want to see what INEOS are about, but it will be whether they deliver. And this summer will be a huge summer. We talk about rebuild at Manchester United. It's going to be absolutely huge. Chris Andromeda got that one out. Chris Andromeda said, have my qualms with Ole, but I agree he wasn't back. I think you mean he wasn't backed. Yes, I think we've established now Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wasn't backed, which is I'm trying to make you see that why is Erik Ten Hag, why is it any different? Sancho, well, let's get on to Jadon Sancho. Let's change the subject from talking about those knobheads at Manchester City. Let's talking about empty seats. We've gone well off track here. We're back on track now. There is news breaking. Jadon Sancho, Borussia Dortmund don't want a permanent deal. I'm just going to rip this one up on the old laptop. Getting really used to this now. It says Borussia Dortmund will not attempt to re-sign Jadon Sancho permanently this summer, but the Bundesliga giants will be willing to strike up another loan deal. Oh, that's according to the update reports, yeah, and the England window. He returned to Germany in January after being discarded by Erik Ten Hag. You know, he was thrown in the bin, discarded to one side in the aftermath of a public spat between the pair. So that is basically the the bones that I've or the meat off the bones that I have picked off that story. So they've made their decision, apparently, this is according to the Manchester Evening News, that Jadon Sancho, they don't want to sign him on a permanent deal. What they're looking for is a loan deal. And God, I really hope that Jadon Sancho is the last of these big name players, big name contracts, come to Manchester United for mega money. What are we supposed to do? What do we do with Jadon Sancho? It's my head absolutely boggles. I'm sure we're contributing toward his wages, which are astronomical. And now you've got Borussia Dortmund, who are playing, if this is a game of cards, they are playing a strong hand, because they're saying, well, we won't buy him in the summer. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll take him on loan again. Jadon Sancho has 2 years left on his present contract. So let's just say he goes on loan for another year at Borussia Dortmund. Bit of quick maths, yeah. We cut that down to 1 year left on his contract, which then brings you into the Kylian Mbappe kind of territory, that he can start negotiating with other clubs. And that's exactly what will happen. A similar kind of thing maybe to Paul Pogba at Manchester United. Jadon Sancho will probably, if United can't get a suitor for him, he's going to sit this one out. You know, he might go to Dortmund, he might come back. But if he comes back to Manchester United, under Ten Hag, he's not going to play. Maybe there's a possibility that maybe Jadon Sancho is looking at this and thinking, well, maybe they will make a change in the summer. And if a new manager comes in, that gives Jadon Sancho a new lease of life. But I'm not sure that would really sit well with me. I've not seen enough from Jadon Sancho to suggest that he's ever going to make it at Manchester United. I think it comes down to attitude, a lack of attitude, I would say, with Jadon Sancho. And I've always said, and I do, believe it or not, know some Manchester City fans, and 2 of them, and one of them said that Jadon Sancho, apparently Guardiola let him go from Manchester City because of an attitude problem at the club, and he actually believed he was better than what he was. Let me just make sure I have missed no chats off here. No, I've not missed anything there. Let me just have a look. Where are we? Yep. Yeah, we are all up to date. Before we do obviously wrap up in a bit, we've got a bit of a hefty section to get through. I will try and cut it down slightly, but as I mentioned earlier, 21 players that could potentially leave Manchester United in the summer, so I will try and fire through that. The other news, Kobbie Mainoo, which is good news. This is positivity if we're a United fan. We're talking about the likes of De Zerbi, we're talking about Gareth Southgate, and I think we're all getting bogged down with that at the minute and what INEOS might do. But Kobbie Mainoo set for new contract talks. It wasn't long ago that he signed a new contract at Manchester United, but similar to probably what Manchester City did with Phil Foden, they're probably realising exactly what Kobbie Mainoo means to Manchester United, and he can be a long stay in that midfield. You know, we could have a midfielder there for the next 10 to 15 years. This is his proper breakthrough season at Manchester United, and I'm all for that, especially when you think of how contracts at Manchester United have been given out in previous years, willy-nilly for players who hadn't even kind of proved it at Manchester United, the likes of Phil Jones, Tony Martial, Anthony Martial, obviously, who's still at Manchester United, will be due a testimonial. I think I'm right in saying that. He's due a testimonial next year. You know, who's turning up for that? I remember Phil Jones made a joke about that once, saying that if he'd have stayed another year, he'd have had a testimonial, and only his mum and dad would have showed up to it. So, a bit harsh on himself there, old Phil. I did like him, but could never understand why United kept giving out new contracts. Right, let's get into this one. Let's get into the I'm going to get into the 21 players. There's been something made of this, right? And when you do look into it, it's actually quite incredible, the amount of players, because I went through this list and I read it out, And we will do a poll. Kev loves a poll. He loves a poll. He will do it. But I'm not going to do it for the 21 players because we will be here till tomorrow morning. You know, I'll be half asleep. You lot will have gone. What we're going to do is I'm going to go through some of them quite quickly. But then the ones that I think that the fan base, which is yourselves, the United Stand community, the ones that I think are going to, I say divide opinion. You might look at it and go, you know, I would keep him. We'll fire out a poll. We'll try and gauge it very, very quickly. So make sure you're hot on the finger. While you're there, you might as well finger the like button as well of the video. If I don't get 1,000 likes on this video, I'll go home and sit on the couch like Ian Beale on EastEnders and say, I've got nothing left. I'll have nothing left. The likes mean a lot to Kev. Right, let's start it off. We've got a 20-man one shortlist. I'm just looking how we're doing for time. I think we're all right. Tom Heaton. We do not need to run a poll on Tom Heaton. I've got a thing here saying Heaton, he's missed the last few games with a niggle. Didn't even know, you know. Right, I asked, yeah. The goalkeeper, he turns 38 in April and is out of contract in June. Yeah. Tom Heaton, for me, if we're saying keep or sell, see you later, Tom. Like I say, I actually forgot, and no disrespect, I forgot you were actually at Manchester United. I can't see us missing you. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I do not think this, now considering the form of Diego Dalot, I don't, at this moment in time, see Aaron Wan-Bissaka as one that's going to divide opinion. Now, you might tell me different in the comments section. You might be in there going, keep Wan-Bissaka. Maybe he could be a good... Does he want to be a backup to Dalot? Again, Wan-Bissaka is still sidelined with a leg problem. He's missed 17 games this season. 17 games this season for Manchester United. We've had it on the same with Luke Shaw on the left-hand side. It touches back to the horrendous injury problems that Manchester United have had. I do think that we could probably look to upgrading somebody to properly challenge Dalot, but this moment in time, Dalot has made that position his own. Right, the first one for the poll, if we can get in, keep or sell Raphael Varan, because I think this is one that will divide opinion. The thing is with Varan and the INEOS coming in, his contract does expire in the summer. He turns 31 in April. He has had injury, he's had illness. He's certainly not a person that you can count on 100% to go through a season, but possibly I'm going to go keep on Varan, and I will say this because I do. Listen, if you get an absolute ridiculous bid from Saudi Arabia and Varan wants to go, I'll be the first to say thank you very much. But if that bid doesn't come and Varan stays on maybe reduced terms at Manchester United, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking experience. Yeah, I'm keeping Varan. I'm keeping him. I really would. I think Eric Ten Hag likes him. I think out of all the centre-backs, he's the one that you can kind of partner with anyone. And Varan is a Rolls-Royce, innit? Do we want to get rid of a Rolls-Royce? Let us see what we are saying on that. I did say we'll run a poll, and I did say that we're going to close it very quickly because I do need to get through these, and I know it will be time-consuming. Let me just change this to live chat. Let's have a look. There we go. So Raphael Varan keep. 74% are saying that they would keep Raphael Varan, which, I agree with you. I'm in with you. I'm down with you. Victor Lindelof, I don't think we need to do a poll for that one. He's in the same boat as Aaron Wan-Bissaka. His contract was extended by United for a year, but I would personally sell Victor Lindelof. I fully expect a message off Ricky later on condemning my comments, especially when I move next on to Johnny Evans, which is another player I just can't see Manchester United retaining. I just think at the age, the injuries, to see how much he was quality. He was absolutely quality at the Etihad last week. Positional play, but there does come a stage where, like when that famous moment, was it Gary Neville at Watford, when he said, you know, in his head he knew what he wanted to do, but his legs just wouldn't do it. And he said he knew at that point it was time to retire. But I would like to see Johnny Evans stay at United, maybe in some capacity as a coach, maybe, because he's definitely a leader. I said that at the Etihad, after the match at the Etihad last week. I think Johnny Evans doesn't have the armband, but he's certainly, you know, he has been a captain, and he strikes me as somebody who can lead a team and certainly coach and develop the younger players. So, yes, Johnny Evans could, I would let him go. Next one, Harry Maguire. This is one, again, 6-year contract runs out next year. So it really comes down to Harry Maguire and his, I won't say self-pride, I'll say ambition. That's the word, you know. Is Harry Maguire going to show ambition to go elsewhere? Personally, I think Harry Maguire's scared to death of leaving Manchester United. I think he's one of them that realises that the only way is kind of down. And when I say that, I mean it's because he knows he's not going to Real Madrid or, let's say, City, whatever. You know, he's going to be going, I think, like to maybe West Ham. If David Moyes is still there, he will still be sniffing around at Harry Maguire. And I think Harry Maguire's maybe personal pride might be hurt by that. But if he wants to play regular team football, I think he has to leave Manchester United. We're going to do a poll for, is Casimiro? We've got to do a poll for Casimiro. Again, a bit like Varan. Again, there is talk of Saudi Pro Club League teams. That's an easy one to say. Put my teeth back in. Apparently, they will be interested in Casimiro, and it's whether he wants to leave Manchester United. We'll do a quick poll on that one. I personally would keep Casimiro, and it's not because I've got a song that I love singing about him. You know, I will always have that close to my heart. The memories of the Carabao Cup final when he was absolutely bossed it against Newcastle. I think for the development of Kobbie Mainoo, I think when you see a young player like that, especially side by side with Casimiro, he's going to learn and develop so much. You know, they're worth the weight in gold, these kind of players. It's all right going, oh, they're all rubbish. Sell all the players, bring a load of young ones in. You still need that blend of, you know, the older players and the younger players. You know, even when we had the class of 92, you know, yes, we heavily brought in, you know, nearly half a team of youngsters, but you still had that backbone, that spine of the team. You couldn't have brought 11 youngsters in and expected to have the success that Manchester United had at that time. You needed your Peter Schmeichel, your Steve Bruce, whoever it was, you know, your Keanes and all that. So in that sense, if we got the poll on Casimiro, we will end it. Keep or sell, get it in right now, and we'll see what the United Stand community are thinking, and then we can crack on, because there is only about 3 or 4 players that I'm going to put to the poll, because and let's have a look. There we go. 75% are saying keep Casimiro. You know, I'm absolutely buzzing tonight because we're singing from the same hymn sheet. I remember doing this show for the first time on my own, and I think the first poll I ever did, everybody went totally against me, and it really knocked me confidence. It really knocked me for 6. Right, Christian Eriksen was a fantastic signing when he signed for Manchester United. At the age, we always knew that he was going to be a kind of stopgap, certainly not one for the future, maybe steadied the ship. We had a great season last season at Manchester United. I would say sell or release, or, you know, if United come to some kind of arrangement with him. I'll always be thankful of what he's done for Manchester United. I thought it was a great bit of business at the time to get him from Brentford. Obviously, everything that he's been through, obviously what happened. But it was great, or it has been great to see him at Manchester United. He is a class player, but the problem with Eriksen at this minute in time is he's become a bit of a liability. And if you start him in a game, you know that come the 60th minute, you're going to have to bring him off. So he becomes a kind of bit part player where is he impactful? Yes, maybe if you win in a game, which we very rarely are, you could bring him on, as that kind of player. Just keep it nice and simple. But United's problem is so often is that we're chasing games, that we're throwing on the likes of McTominay just purely based on the fact that he might score a goal. Christian Eriksen doesn't really bring that threat. Amrabat, future still uncertain. The thing with Amrabat is Manchester United have already outlaid 10 million on the loan fee. We have to pay another 20 million if we want to make that transfer permanent. Amrabat is a funny one for me because I've not really seen that much of him. And when you look, he's played left back. He's done a job. He's played in different positions. I'm sure if he spoke to himself, he would admit he hasn't played in his preferred position. But against Nottingham Forest the other week in the Cup, considering he was playing left back and then all of a sudden he was playing in midfield, keep or sell. Do you know what? I think I'd sell him. I think I would sell him. 20 million, maybe there might be better options. I think I'm being incredibly harsh there. I'm doubling down slightly. The next one is Scott McTominay. Obviously, an academy product. And this is where the club will start to get clever. They'll look at a player like Scott McTominay and probably think that if they can get, let's just say 20 million, for instance, if they can bring in 20 million with the new FFP regulations and that money would go towards Manchester United's transfer kitty for next season. So I would sell Scott McTominay. Anthony Martial, I'm sure we definitely don't need a poll for this one. Up in the summer, should have, the thing that I'm actually reading said, should have ended years ago. I think that sums it up absolutely perfectly for Anthony Martial. Had the song 50 million down the drain, Tony Marshall scores a game. There's probably been slightly changed now to 50 million down the drain. Tony Marshall's injured again. So much promise burst onto the scene against, obviously, Liverpool with that goal, but has just not fulfilled it, and Manchester United will never get that Ballon d'Or clause, will they, that they cheekily inserted into the old contract. If he wins the Ballon d'Or, we'll get another 10 million. Never a chance that was ever going to happen, but I suppose you never know. But Martial's not developed. Right, it is poll time. Another one of these players that is hugely going to divide opinion. Marcus Rashford. If you can get that one into the poll, and then we'll go through that. Let me just have a look here. We have got Tom Best is back with a super chat. It's unbelievable, man. It's 49.99. I just wanted to say thank you very, very much. He said, if Manchester United becomes successful, do you think the Glazers will take all the cash? Tom, I would say, I think that's all the Glazers have ever set out to do. All they've ever done is absolutely, they've used Manchester United basically, Tom, as a cash line. And they have constantly, it'd be great, wouldn't it? I'd love a cash line at the bottom of the garden or whatever. You just go out every now and again, put in a few numbers. You don't have to put a card in because just cash comes out of it all the time. And you don't have to put anything into the cash line. You don't have to go out and work hard. You're not out digging holes for a living, laying bricks. You just go up to the cash line. It keeps spewing money out. Yeah, what a great old life the Glazers have. But to say what you're saying, Tom, and thank you very much. It's a wild amount of money, that. But yeah, if Manchester United becomes successful, do you think the Glazers will take all the cash? What I would say, they've taken all the cash. Manchester United, in theory, Tom, to them, are a cash cow. And they will continue, I won't do that again, that's wrong. They will continue to milk the udders. That's why I said it was going to look wrong. They will continue to milk the udders of the cash cow that's Manchester United until every last drop of milk is gone. And then probably by that time, if we haven't got the Wembley in the North, the new stadium, they'll just let the ground run into disrepair, and that's what they will leave us with. And that, my friend, will be the legacy of the Glazers. Worked really well. Finishing on a really bad note here, aren't I? I'm really depressing myself, but let's pick up the spirits again. We have thrown in Marcus Rashford into the poll because I believe this is one that will divide opinion. I am going to say straight away, and this is not, before anyone gets on at me, an agenda, United stand lot and Rashford and that, God, it's my personal opinion. Again, like Scott McTominay, if you can get daft money for Marcus Rashford in the summer, from what I've seen for the last couple of seasons, the off-field problems, I would sell Marcus Rashford. I would sell Marcus Rashford for, if I could get 50 million, I would sell Marcus Rashford. 60 million, brilliant. But I think the baggage that comes with him, I think he's kind of, I know he's come out and he said he's still in love with the club, it's his boyhood club, but I have said it before, and I believe that maybe a change of scenery for Marcus Rashford, maybe for himself, might not be a bad idea. And it comes down to Rashford himself. We talk about the structure at Manchester United, you know, the contract that he was given, you know, he's the highest paid player at Manchester United. He is the poster boy. Don't care what anybody says. He is a shirt seller. I'm sure, you know, a lot of the younger Reds will want his name. He is the number 10, the iconic shirt, and that they will get behind that. But from what I've seen on the field, and this is what it comes down to, I'm not bothered about, you know, things off the field. I know he's done great work, but you have to look at it and I go, if we can get great money for him, and we get the structure right, Manchester United, that money could be used so much better. You know, you look at, we spoke about De Zerbi earlier, and the kind of recruitment that they have in place at Brighton, and, you know, the likes of Mitoma, you know, cost them what, about 6-7 million. Caicedo, again. These are where Manchester United need to get back to basics. You know, forget the big name signings because they have not worked in the past. You know, United have probably signed players based on their markability. What a fancy word that was. The likes of Paul Pogba. Pogba was fantastic, but it never worked. No doubt he was highly marketable at Manchester United, sold shirts, the thing with Adidas and all that coincided. Di Maria, you know, how did United ever sign Angel Di Maria? He already made it clear he wanted to go to PSG. Financial fair play, they could not sign him. So we took him, and then kind of the hierarchy celebrated it as this superstar signing. A year later, he's gone to PSG. And then he comes back, scores against us. Somebody lobs a bottle at him on the pitch. Then he has a drink of it. You know, Di Maria, Alexis Sanchez, another one. Huge money. United fans celebrating that at the time. He turned down City. He's come to United. I tell you what he come to United for, yeah? Because if he wanted trophies at that time, I'm sorry, even as a United fan, he'd have gone to Manchester City. He chose United for money. It pains me to say that, but the Rashford poll has been up for 2 minutes. I'm going to give you about 15 seconds or so. I'm going to look through the live chat very quickly. A lot of people saying sell. Savage says, Martial, still a footballer? I know, it's crazy, mate. It really is. Lots of people saying sell. But we are a democracy on the United stand. You know, you're entitled to your opinion. Kay says keep. Kay probably in the minority of what the group chat's saying. That's not the poll. Keep. Says Mastrial mapping. Keep. Yeah, so there is backing. So maybe when we end this poll, Angel Bomb says, Kev, sing Scott's song, the McTominay song. I might save that for the end, mate. I might save it to maybe finish on a high note. I think we're going to wrap up the poll. A lot of people keep. It's a mixed bag, this, so I'm interested really to see. Obviously, the United stand here, fan opinion, it's all about yourselves. I always say, if yous weren't here, I'd just be sat here on my own. But I've got the poll result. I can bring it to you. Maybe if you're on the old laptop now, you can see yourself. 85% of the Manchester United or the United stand community, and this is obviously just gauging off the people that are watching this video. I'm not for 1 minute trying to claim that 85% of the United fan base believe that Marcus Rashford should be sold. You know, I've got to say, I'm very, very, very surprised by that. I thought that was going to be a lot closer. Hube, I've just seen you, my eyes were glancing down to the screen, has said Lee Mack, you cheeky bastard, honestly. I'm glad I've stayed out of this chat. Once I start glancing down at this, the lookalikes will start coming in and that, but I can't be put off. I am a model professional here, but 85% of the United Stand community that are currently watching this video believe that they would sell Marcus Rashford. And look, my eyebrows, they are raised. Am I shocked by it? I think I am. I thought I was actually in the minority of the people that probably wanted him sold. Let's see, we'll get through the last ones now. We've got the old fidget spinner, Anthony. Anthony, what can I say? I hate to write off a player too early, but I look and he sounds harsh, but he infuriates me, absolutely infuriates me. I find myself at times, he runs that ball down the wing and I'm looking and I just find myself go, what are you doing? What are you cutting back for on your foot? You know, put it in mixer. I know that Manchester United would never, you know, mixer and Manchester United is not a thing, is it? But yeah, it infuriates me, Anthony. And the price tag, I did back him at the start and I said the price tag, you have to look at it and take that into consideration. You do, and I did give him time, and I believe that if you could get anything, even near half, even just less than half back for Anthony, again, if that goes into the kitty for next season, I just don't think. It's another one that Eric Ten Hag has got wrong. Maybe with the right people around him, the right structure, somebody could have pulled back on that one and said, you know, down with that kind of thing. We don't need Anthony. We need to strengthen in other areas, and you're ready to basically blow 90 million on that player. Forson is in there. He's one of them. His contract is up in the summer now. He is a promising player, but I would like to keep him, but at the end of the day, you know, if he wants to go, that one is kind of out of my hands. We've also then got, let me just get through these very quickly. I knew it was going to be time consuming doing this. Hopefully I'm not boring you, but Amad Diallo, keep, 100% keep. In fact, if anything, he's been underplayed. I do not understand that. Ten Hag needs to maybe back this player. He needs more game time. You know, substitute appearances here and there, 5 or 10 minutes is not enough. You know, there should come a time when Amad is knocking at that door and saying to Ten Hag, you know, what's going on, man? I need a bit of game time here, boss. You know, what's the point of me being here? And he absolutely ripped it up at Sunderland. You know, if you ask, I've spoke to Sunderland fans, they would love him back in a heartbeat. Believe he's an absolute brilliant player. They would love him back. Palestre, again, I do not understand what Ten Hag does not see in this player. Obviously, a loan move or whatever. Maybe sees him as one for the future. But again, in an area where we have struggled this season, I can't understand why Palestre has not had more game time. Donny van der Beek is one that I think 100% I would let go. In fact, as I've just said that, I will check the chat very quickly. I'll shout it again. Donny van der Beek. What are we saying on Donny van der Beek? Sell. Keep, actually. He passes. Sell. Somebody saying keep Palestre. I'd be surprised if there was anybody really saying get rid of Palestre. He's done nothing wrong. You could argue the fact that he's not really had a chance. Hannibal. Hannibal is one I think I would sell. I think I would sell. From what I've seen, wears his heart on his sleeve. Seems to be a bit erratic. I don't know whether maybe a run in the team. But where would he get in at United? Unless he's willing to wait for his chance. But again, it wouldn't really faze me if he left Manchester United. The last two that we've got on this 21-man hit list, Jadon Sancho. Now, we've spoken about Jadon Sancho earlier. Obviously, Borussia Dortmund. It's going to be very, very hard for Man United to get anywhere near the fee that they paid for Jadon Sancho. So if they could get anything back for him, I would take it. And I would probably say, lesson learned at Manchester United. No more of these silly signings. You do your research. You research the player, you know, his attitude, whatever it is. You look into background check, whatever you need to look into. You know, his family life. You know, Sir Alex Ferguson famously did this. Always preferred his players, you know, to be in relationships and stuff, and it does make a huge difference. Some of these younger players, they get far too much too early, and they have a tendency to go off the rails. Mason Greenwood is another one. There is a story which ties in nicely. Obviously, Barcelona are looking. It does say Mason Greenwood is on the list of possible signings for Barcelona. Sorry, he's on loan at Getafe. Is highly regarded by the Barcelona club as a low-cost option to reinforce the forward line next season. I don't like the fact that they're saying low cost. Again, I think Borussia Dortmund are having our pants down, saying that they don't want Jadon Sancho on a permanent deal. They've already got him on loan. All right, you don't like the goods, you've tested him, but, we'll take him for another year. That is Barcelona. You know, this is a club that you don't really want to be dealing with. But at the same time, when you've got a player with the kind of baggage, shall we say, of Mason Greenwood, and I do not for 1 minute, he's a fantastic, fantastic footballer aside. Prior to everything that went on, which obviously seen him move to Getafe, Mason Greenwood, I always said it, like left foot, right foot. I hadn't seen anything like that. Anyone as strong on both feet where you didn't know predominantly which foot was the strongest. I always kind of referred to him or compared him to a Robin van Persie at United. Greenwood, I just think it's a shame. But Barcelona, I would not let Barcelona start dictating to Manchester United. This is where the Man United hierarchy need to grow a set of balls, man, and say, whoa, you're not getting him on low cost just because of, let's say, the issues or the ongoing off-field issues that Mason Greenwood's got. You know, you're going to dance to our tune. And if not, if it's another loan deal, or you start to look at other clubs. But I must say, from a personal point of view of Mason Greenwood, he's 22 years old. Again, I had such high hopes for him at Manchester United. But Greenwood, what a move that would actually be on a personal level for him to go to Barcelona. Now, that actually wraps up the 21-man shortlist. And apologies there, I bet you're all half asleep. You know, you're like, bloody hell, Kev, that was a long list. I did know that it was going to take a while, and I could have took even longer. So I think we've covered the ones that we've covered, the main players. We've more or less said we would keep Casimiro, we would keep Varan. The main surprise out of this 21-man shortlist, I must say, is that 75% of the United Stand community have actually said that they would sell Marcus Rashford. You know, I'm not gobsmacked. I think it has come as a surprise. I think it's the percentage of the people that have voted there. But again, we're not talking for the whole Manchester United community as a whole. And as somebody said earlier, you know, Kev does love a poll. I do. And I am not Peter Stringfellow. So down with them accusations. Yeah, down with that indeed. I'm just going to check the chat. I think we have gone slightly over. Have we gone slightly over, producer Greg? Just 10 minutes over. Hey, I'm enjoying myself. You know, when I got here this evening, producer Greg was like, we're going to get you a big fancy seat out, and I actually feel at home. I feel like we could keep going here for another 2 hours, but I know that Greg will be flying out that door in the morning, in a minute, and probably kick my ass because he wants to get home, and so do I. I just wanted to say a massive shout out to everybody. Thanks for the support in the comments section. Everybody says, love the show. It's great. And I would say a big thank you to all the moderators. It's very difficult in that group chat sometimes. So you have to, you know, keep it clean. don't be mean. And a massive shout out to producer Greg behind the scenes. These people don't get the, the accolation. Is that a word? I don't know. But yeah, the big up that they need. But we will see you. We will be back here on the United Stand, 10 o'clock show tomorrow. I was going to try and do a look ahead to the Everton game on Saturday, but I'll be back in the van for that one. I'll be doing the old van camp, laid back and all that. But have a great evening. You've been watching the biggest Man United fan channel in the land. This was the United Stand. Good night and cheerio.